that you have the capacity in terms of the resource persons, the facilities, the equipment, plus the natural framework that is required to be able to do this. And we look forward to sustaining this standard so that we can be able to supply. And as we speak now, Kenya is respected. We are supplying seafarers all over the world, just out of those frameworks that we have developed as KMA to ensure that we meet those standards which are required. And we look forward to many other opportunities come, the 87 skills, how you can be able to bring them out, tie them with what is available currently within the blue economy space, and get the right persons to be able to do the jobs and bring out the best of what the blue economy has for this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. 87 skills. There is something for everyone. So it's interest and personal initiative from our young people is what I'm gathering to look at what skills am I passionate about, am I interested in. There's a job market, there's an entrepreneurial area for me. I think if you're here and you have a young person at home, 87 skills. Say 87. 87 skills. Don't forget. Thank you very much. So you've had, Dr. Mbidi, you've heard of the areas for skills, the need for skills, the opportunity for training, the availability for training. Now, you have the ear of the president, I assume, because you're in the office of the president. And we have the daughter, the first daughter here. And we have skills. I'm seeing a connection on how we could look at just looking back at the blue economy agenda for our country. Are there areas that the office of the president is specifically working on to push for promoting access to specific areas that you could share with us?
Yes, maybe picking the cue from my colleague from Kenya. Yes, 87 skills, but actually what is even more interesting is that we have a labor demand of 10,000 people, especially young people, which we are unable to meet at the moment. The industry needs those people to go and work, and we do not actually have enough people, enough trained people to be able to take advantage of those jobs. And please, if you're thinking that they are very complicated jobs, no, they are not. From the seafaring area, like Obiko was explaining, there'll be simple things like, hospitality industry on ships, for example, and of course skilled work on ships, but not just on ships, but on so many other areas of the industry. And what we noted is that some of our institutions actually train a little bit more than is even required for those jobs. So they take longer, they do like 6 months or 1 year, but the industry is asking maybe only for 3 months or even 2 months, but very specialized training. So what the government is trying to do is try to make sure that we identify very precisely what the industry requires and then retrain some of our trained people, especially young people, to the specific demands of the blue economy market. So there's an alignment process that's going on now. If you visit the ministries, certainly the Department for Shipping and also the Department for Fisheries, but not just those two, the Department for Tourism and other departments as well, you will find that there are a lot of skills that which employers are looking for people and they cannot get enough. Apart from that, we recognize that the issue of training or the issue of training and investment go hand in hand. So we know that we want to make sure that it is demand driven. We want to make sure that that there is enough demand for trainees so that our people can be employed. And we are doing that by trying to attract investments into the country so that as the investors come, they will also be demanding people, of course, to employ. Huge activities at the moment. You are familiar with the revival of the fishing industry in the country. You are aware that we have something like 100 billion shillings worth of fish in the ocean, and we are only landing of that fish, mainly tuna. We are landing less than 1 billion. Of the total landings in Kenya is, for example, 20,000 metric tons against 300,000 metric tons, which can be landed. Now, if that fish was to come in, that represents so many jobs. We estimate anything between 20 to 30 medium to large scale industries. Right now we have only 4, I think, medium industries. So in short, there is a lot of opportunity.
They can access these opportunities, specifically women-led enterprises. How can we encourage them to look into the blue economy and see it as a potential area for them to get into?
Thank you. I will switch between English and Swahili because I understand there are people here as well, local people. And we had this conversation already last week with the women in blue economy. Na tuliongea mambo ya biashara na mambo ya wanawake vile wanaweza kuingia kwa opportunities, wanaweza chukua opportunities za blue economy. I think kuna wengine wako hapa leo walikuwa last week na tulijadiliana tuka understand ni nini wao wako na challenges na ni wapi watu wanaweza ingia. So I think one of the things that we discussed about was, apart from access to finance, because majority of the women were saying that they don't get into the market because of access to finance, but when you dig deep, you find out that there is no understanding of entrepreneurship in the first place. So there is that lack of training on entrepreneurship. So I think that's the first step that needs to happen. And then for financial literacy, majority of the women have no understanding of the books. They can't read the books. That means they have no understanding how they are performing, if the businesses are profitable or not, what they need to plow back. So there are many opportunities. And then there's the issue of abuse, especially sexual abuse and harassment for women who are fisher women. And I think that's something that the government and private enterprises can partner on to sort of solve, educate, offer more education, and also maybe security to women who are working in blue economy. So it's variety, combination of different things. And opportunities are endless. It's not just fishing, access to boats, for example. It's discussion with them that you are able to really dig down to understand what it is that they're needing. So instead of coming up with boardroom solutions, unaongea na wanawake kwa sababu walituambia wakatuelezea ni nini wanahitaji. So badala ya sisi kuja na kuambia tunafikiria mnahitaji milioni moja, wanasema hapana, mimi nahitaji fridge. So there's a lot of disconnect between the providers and the entrepreneurs. So I think that's what we need to bridge.
Thank you very much. I'm looking at the women. Wanawake bomba. Wanawake bomba. Hiyo si sauti ya mwanamke bomba. Wanawake bomba. Asante. Nilikuwa Kilifi nikajua hiyo phrase na ninaitumia kila pahali na julisha kama mwanamke bomba na hope nimepita kwa mwanamke bomba. Asante. Yeah, that was for our guests who don't understand Swahili. I'll explain later. We've talked about investment. We talked about involving women. We have Stripe that does payment processing for small businesses. Let's talk a little bit about that. How can we incorporate small businesses? And I'm talking about, yes, we have mainstream small businesses, but what about local, the small courier shop by selling at the hotel? How is it possible to incorporate them into a payment, a processing platform, and how do we encourage that?
Yeah, I think the way I'm kind of approaching this is that we see in terms of investors around the world that there's a shifting. This one's a bit better. So I think I'll approach this from the perspective of what we're seeing from investors both in more mature markets and what we're seeing in developing markets. There's a consensus that investors have less of a risk appetite and want to fund opportunities that they actually see traction in. And so that traction typically is something where you have a list of your first paying customers and proven points of essentially having had a revenue stream for a few months. So you can enable that kind of revenue stream through your local processing of, even cash, just keeping track of that money, having B2B processing and enabling that through your first contracts and showing that you actually have, revenue coming through for your company as well. But I also think that there's a lot of essentially no-code tooling that is out there online in order to prove that you have customers. And so Stripe is one, Paystack is another one that was acquired by Stripe, and there's a lot of success stories of fintech innovation in Africa that the world is looking at in terms of how you can essentially leverage these and scale them. But I think the way